When I think about rivers, I think about one that I do not know its name. Deep within the mangrove swamps of Florida, I think of that river, and I think of a particular ancient eye on that river, the eye of an alligator floating by me and my canoe in the mangrove swamps, where we were perhaps as close to a beast from another era as I will ever be again in my life. That famous smile of the alligator stays with me today because I had an opportunity on that trip taken in the mid-1980s that people today cannot have, because the water patterns have changed and the swamps do not have enough water now to sustain the ride of a canoe through their course. There are changes in our natural world. They're abounding. And in the last couple months, we have seen them represented by hurricanes and floods, earthquakes and fires, which have ravaged our places and our people this year. The dramatic nature of all these events has revealed even more schisms in our society, including ones over who deserves aid or who does not. Yet also, a critical fault line has been re-revealed. As National Public Radio noted, the debate about climate change is coming back to the fore, and whether these unusually destructive natural events are tied to larger patterns representing new world order. That we are seeing new and dramatic weather patterns is something that many of us are holding with discomfort. That the temperature of our world, of our Earth, is increasing is something that's being documented by scientific observation. That the polar ice caps, which are like the hat keeps us cool at the top of our world, are melting, is seen by the fact that we now see the encroachment of commercial voyages, routes among them, which is hastening their demise. Commercial ships can now navigate waters that they could not go through before, just years before, because of the changes in our Earth. So what does that mean for us as gathered people of faith? It means that we need to claim our place as people who believe that we have a radical interdependence with all of life on this planet. We who seek to understand the miracles of how wolves change rivers know that we are connected deeply together, and that more than any other species, humans are changing this one precious planet upon which we are so dependent. And what is also true is that these issues in our particular times represent just another set of almost incomprehensible and certainly unsolvable issues that seem unapproachable or paralyzing to us in the light of the other divisions we've known. Joan Halifax is a Buddhist teacher and a medical anthropologist, and she says, what we're suffering from as a society now, after months and months of what seems like constant onslaught, is not compassion fatigue. She calls it empathetic distress. And she says that there's a resonance with what's happening in the world, but we're not able to stabilize ourselves enough when we're exposed again and again to suffering that we cannot comprehend. She says this, when we are more stabilized, then we'll face the world with more buoyancy, we'll have more resilience. We've got more capacity to actually address profound social and environmental issues. She said, without conscious efforts to recognize where we are, we face a pattern of disconnecting, of pulling away, of trying to not be engaged with what is happening before us. It's what Halifax calls a state of moral distress and futility. She says moral distress is something that when we see there's something that needs to happen, like children and the environment need to be protected, we have to stop violence towards women, we feel these profound moral conflicts. And yet we can't exactly see what we each can do about it. So we enter into a state of either moral outrage or just states of avoidance through addictive behaviors where we just withdraw, she says, and leave ourselves in a kind of numbness. I think we all know that the hard truth about these times is that there are many who are particularly holding traumatic truth for our society. And it's not just the amazing emergency first responders, some of whom are on our platform with us today, people who have had to support them, but it's also another group that you wouldn't think of, including the scientists who are suffering from empathetic distress, biologists tracking species they are watching going extinct and feeling so powerless in this world in which we live. James Balog is a photographer and a biologist who produced a film called Chasing Ice. It's a project, actually, where he mounted cameras all over the northern hemisphere so that he could actually track the cataclysmic decline of icebergs. And he published this in this amazing film, a very short film, actually, that I would really recommend to you called Chasing Ice. He says climate change is real. It is being substantially increased by humans and the carbon we put into the atmosphere, and it appears to be speeding up. If science has made any mistake, it is in underestimating it. And yet, we hear every day that those who could make decisions on our behalf see this only as false news. This is a great unsettlement for us. It's the 1-2 punch, the first being this potentially unmanageable reality we're all trying to struggle with, and then the second being the denial of the existence of things that we see as being based in facts. In this time in which is peppered with rank incivility and just seems simply uncontrollable, we are still the people who believe in our heart that each of us is critical to the salvation of the world in our own small ways. And that it is our small and discreet choices that we make every day and the essential actions that we make that keep us engaged and allow us to be part of the change. We know that there is a world in which wolves change rivers and humans can change their course as well. Giving in to despair and hopelessness will not allow us to address the issues that face our world, and neither will it allow us to simply live and maintain our strength. We need to continue to build here the place of hope and heart, to embrace our love and care for all of our global neighbors of all species. We need to resist despair and also counter ignorance that would force us to focus on random disagreements, that would deify false information and ignore the sanctity of our interconnection. Because what is clear to all of us now as we approach November of 2017 is that we are in this struggle for the long haul, and we need to be the ones who keep our eyes trained on the far horizon. I think about my friend the alligator, and I think about that joke that says, "What do alligators call children? Appetizers." The truth is that alligators have one of the smallest brains as a percentage of their body size. Scientists believe that this reptilian brain, which is the brain that is simply really about finding things to eat when you are hungry and surviving at the most basic level, is what becomes active within us when we feel great fear and threat. We are living in a world trading fear for fear, and we need to recognize that there are some who are acting as alligators among us. I, for one, choose to move beyond that kind of kill and eat relationship with one another so that we can be the ones to keep trying, because we know that people are hungry for more than that. They are hungry for meaningful action, and they are hungry for hope. We know that we need more than cosmetic fixes. We need a deep reorientation which recognizes that the world is not just the playground for human consumption, but a very fragile and precious ecosystem upon which all life is dependent. So how do we care for ourselves in this time of great difficulty and strength, and which requires strength. First, we remember that we have always been the people that have not seen that faith and science need to be worlds apart, but that understand that they too are interdependent. We are the faith that embraced the findings of Charles Darwin, which were seen by many others as the greatest expression of the devil incarnate when they came out. It means looking in ways that may be different than how we have looked before. Joan Halifax notes that research on monks who have done 10,000 or more hours of meditation finds that they have a very specific way of responding that she believes is why they can actually open their hearts with greater compassion, which is that they step into suffering, but they do not remain there overwhelmed by it. They comprehend it, and then they move away into the joyful mindfulness of the rest of the world. And this is why practices which restore us to our spiritual wellness and our sense of basic gratitude about the world, whether it's giving blessings for the creatures among us or for the people that we love, is so essential in these times. And we need not to be disenchanted or turn away because we can't find that quick fix or be the quick fixer. Balog says, "When I work with wildlife, I learn the meaning of patience. And when I work with trees, I learn the meaning of humility. It's important to recognize that humans are not the measure of all things. The earth is the measure of all things." Quaker theologian and teacher Parker Palmer says this, "We're in an era of breakdown, environmentally and socially and psychologically. When systems break down, those who find and take the resilience to actually repair themselves move to a higher order in the organization. May we be the ones to stand at the intersection between what we know is true and what we believe we can still do to protect life, to protect those we love, to offer hope, and to affirm our interconnection with all life. May we contemplate always the many paths to knowledge and our ability to hold them. May we be the ones to make it.